This next series of videos is going to be on the Solidworks sketch tools. And if you take a look at the sketch tools menu, you'll find that, first of all, it goes way off the screen at the resolution that I'm using to record these videos. But I will expect you to probably follow along on your full resolution monitor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these items by section. So I'll go through fillet through the face curves in one video and then segment through make path in another video. So this is going to take 5 or 6 videos to get through all of these. I believe that a lot of these are very valuable and some of them are underused. Some of them are obscure for a reason. Some of them you don't know about because, well, they're either new or they have a limited application. We're going to go through all of them. Let's just start with creating a sketch demonstrating some of these functions. The first one is fillet and the second one is chamfer. So I'm going to open a new sketch. And we'll just go through a couple of these right here off this part. We don't necessarily need this part to do a couple of these, but some we will. Here I have a rectangle. I have my sketch fillet. Entities to fillet. You can just click right at the corner. Or you can click 2 separate items. That's one way that you can do this. And of course, SolidWorks will put several of these together at once. Or if you want to change a value, you can do a separate fillet function. Now, when you do this, what does SolidWorks do to the relationships in your sketch? Everything will continue to work. So this is still at the intersection of this edge and this edge. Let me turn off the sketch relation display as it's going to get kind of in the way here. Now I'll undo. And let's try a chamfer. Chamfer has 2 different ways to do this, angle distance and distance. So however you want to show these on your drawings is the one that you'll pick. You just click the corner and right click to accept. You can change the values by double clicking on a dimension. If you want to change the values separately, you can delete the link by right clicking on one of the items and going to unlink value. And now you can change one of these separately. I personally recommend using fillets and chamfers as 3D features rather than in the sketch. In the sketch, getting rid of a chamfer or a fillet can be a real problem. As a feature, it's not a problem. The next item is offset entities. Let's take a look at how to do that. On a regular face like this, you can just say offset entities and then offset to one side or the other. And you can set your distance to whatever number that you'd like to put. One of the additional options here is the bidirectional. That will offset to the inside and the outside. You can also require the offset geometry to be made as construction geometry. If you had offset from an existing sketch, you could turn the base geometry, or the original selection, into construction geometry. If I just have a sketch line and I want to offset that, or let's say a couple of sketch lines, I can select this and use the offset. And if I'm using bidirectional, I have the option to cap ends with arcs or with lines. This is a very quick way to make a fast slot, especially if it has some shape to it other than just a straight line. Next is offset on a surface. Okay, I want to make use of this offset on surface, but it won't work on a cylindrical surface, so I'm going to put just the regular fillet onto a corner here, make it a little larger so that we can see this. And I'll select from my sketch toolbar, offset on surface. Select this surface, and this, what it's giving me, if you can see it, is a sketch offset on this non-planar surface. So that means that when I create this, it's going to create a 3D sketch. You can do this with crazier shaped surfaces, so lofted surfaces, boundary surfaces, swept surfaces. They just can't be a closed surface like this cylinder. The next sketch tool is Convert Entities. And if we open a new sketch on this face, we can just press Convert Entities. Let's do something a little more interesting. For example, I'm sketching on this end face, but I'm going to use the face of the rib and convert entities on that. So what it does is it selects all of the edges around that selected face. You could also just select a single edge and say convert entities, and it projects that edge into the current sketch. Now there's another trick that I want to show you that's a very valuable trick. Let's say we're sketching on this surface down here. And what we really want to do is select all of the edges around this slot. But there are two problems. First of all, there are several edges. And second of all, they're not all tangent. Because you can sometimes get away with the right-click on something and select tangency. There's also a select loop in here, but who has time for that when there's other cool tricks out there? So what I'm going to do, this is again an old trick that not a lot of people know about. If you click on the surface while you're in the sketch and control click on this edge or any edge on that loop, hit the convert entities and it gets the inside loop. Because if I were to just select this face and use convert entities, it gets all the outside edges. But there's no way to get the inside edges unless you use this little trick. So select the face, select any edge of the inside loop, and Solidworks will give you the inside loop. That's a cool tip that's worth knowing about. The next one is silhouette entities. And this one's a little odd. Here's what it does. It will silhouette bodies and components in an assembly. If you're in a part, it will silhouette an entire body. It will not silhouette faces for you. So, for example, let's say I'm sketching again on this face. What I really want is a silhouette edge up here. So I click on the tools, sketch tools, silhouette entities. And entities to silhouette, well, I'll just pick on this face because I don't know what else to do. It highlights the whole thing. Okay, it's highlighting the body. It's not highlighting just the part. It's highlighting the body. So if you have multiple bodies within a part, then you'll get a better idea of what this is doing. What I was hoping that it would do is that it would just allow you to select a single face. It's not doing that. So when I click on the green check, what it does is it gives me an outline of the entire part. Is that cool? Maybe. I don't know. I did get the thing I wanted, but I got a lot more than what I wanted too. Just to demonstrate, if I were to click over here to open a sketch on this face, run tools, sketch tools, silhouette entities, pick this part and hit the green check. Now it gives me still the silhouette of this part from that projection direction. I don't know if this does what you need it to do or not, but you can probably get what you need and delete the other stuff. The next one is intersection curve. This is a fantastic tool. Once you know about it, I think you'll find a lot of places to use it. Sketching on that plane, I'll click on the intersection curve icon. I get the property manager, and I click on a bunch of surfaces. In fact, I'm going to click on any surfaces that this plane goes through. And that includes planes or surfaces down in this slot. And what I get is as if I had taken a cross section of the part. This is not the same as the silhouette, because the silhouette would have silhouetted this boss up here and everything. This is just a cross section through the part at the plane. Control A and delete. Now I'm going to try this again using a slightly different technique. Sketch tools, intersection curve, and select entities to generate. It just says entities. It doesn't say faces. So I could select a solid body, and that would save me a lot of time. That way I didn't have to figure out which faces hit the plane and which didn't. I just used the solid body and took a section of that at the plane. Saved a lot of clicking around. That's a great tool. Again, I think now that you know about it, you're going to save yourself a lot of time in a lot of different situations. So we'll X out of all of this. The last one is called face curves. And this is another 3D sketch kind of thing that surfacing people have a tendency to use a lot. I'll just show you what it does here on this part. Tools, sketch tools, face curves. Selection, I'm just going to pick this face. Okay, so what it's doing is it's giving us a series of X and Y sections on this face. You can jack up the number of lines in the mesh in both directions. And again, this is going to wind up with a 3D sketch. Actually, this is another questionable function in Solidworks. It's not a single 3D sketch. It's a 3D sketch for every single curve that's in there. Anyway, this is great data for rebuilding surfaces. There is no reason that I can think of why you would need a 3D sketch for each curve. This really should just be a single 3D sketch with a bunch of curves in it. This is a bunch of cool stuff. Fillet, chamfer, offset entities, offset on surface, convert entities, silhouette entities, intersection curve, and face curves. I hope you'll remember some of this next time you need it.